And that's a scene from Private Benjamin, a delightful new comedy with Goldie Hawn playing a pampered young woman who joins the Army. Private Benjamin is one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing on Sneak Previews, 2 critics talking about the latest films in town. Across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And this is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. In addition to Private Benjamin, we'll also take a look at Why Would I Lie, a new comedy with Lisa Eichhorn and Treat Williams. And Terror Train, the 4th Jamie Lee Curtis thriller in 2 years. But first, Gene starts out with John Cassavetes' new picture, Gloria.
One of the more interesting filmmakers working in America today is John Cassavetes, whose films look improvisational. Scenes run on and on, the actors pause and sometimes fumble. Cassavetes' movies have a gritty, real-life quality to them. In Gloria, Cassavetes tells the story of an unlikely friendship between a 7-year-old Puerto Rican boy and a mobster's tough-talking gun moll, played by Jenna Rollins, who was Cassavetes' real-life wife. Gloria, the Rollins character, hates kids, but she takes this child under her wing when his family is slaughtered by the mob in the beginning of the picture. The mob is after the boy because his father gave him an accounting ledger exposing the mob's loan sharking operations. The boy and Gloria are on the run in Manhattan when some mobsters catch up with them at a restaurant. Talk about new, strong women in the movies. Oddly enough, it is in that kind of old-fashioned action scene that Gloria works best. Jenna Rollins is absolutely convincing every time she handles a gun in this picture. To my mind, though, the film is less successful in its portrayal of the relationship between Rollins and that little boy. A lot of the scenes between them seem too cute and forced. But when Rollins is tough, Gloria works. So, mixed feelings about Gloria. More good ones than bad ones. It's an enjoyable, offbeat chase picture. I like the character of Gloria very much. It's that little brat I can't stand.
You know, he is a little bit much to take, isn't he? Especially when he delivers that dialogue as if daring anyone to change one word once he's memorized it.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of trouble sometimes with anyone under 12 in the movie.
Me too.
But I like Jenna Rollins. I like the fact that she's able to project a kind of tenderness underneath the toughness. I like the performance. I think it's kind of a nice movie. And something that I noticed, I suppose you noticed this too, this is the 4th time this story has been told in a movie, and the 2nd time this year. This plot is Little Miss Marker, the Damon Runyon story. The gangster gets custody of the kid, hates the kid, then gets to like the kid. Usually it's a guy, this time it's a girl. Maybe what Cassavetes was doing was looking for a little more discipline in terms of a framework. He's famous as a director for letting actors really go with their material and emote and let it all out and so forth. And sometimes, at the end of his pictures, you've had 2 hours of talking and acting, you don't know what it was about. This time, with that Little Miss Marker framework, he gives it a plot, which is kind of a discipline.
I have one worry about Gloria. It opened very successfully in New York City, and if it does well around the country, I hope it doesn't twist Cassavetes' career in a direction that I don't particularly like, and that's toward more commercial films like Gloria, lighter weight material. I preferred tougher films, more adult pictures he made a couple years ago, like Husbands or A Woman Under the Influence. Those are the kind of films I think he does best and certainly does distinctively, and I hope that that's where his career goes.
Well, you know, if Gloria is a success, it could have one good result, and that is after Woman Under the Influence, which was a hit and won an Academy Award nomination for Jenna Rollins, he made 2 more pictures, Killing of a Chinese Bookie and Opening Night, and neither one of those pictures have played in most markets in this country. And maybe if Gloria is a success, that'll inspire a re-release for those
That'd
films.
be a good development.
I hope so. Anyway, from an okay picture to a movie that is definitely not okay, Why Would I Lie? This is a movie I hate so much, you may have to restrain me on this one. It's supposed to be a comedy, I guess, and yet it's a comedy about very serious matters, like the adoption of a little boy, very inappropriate. And it's really offensive the way this movie tries to cram this serious material into a simple-minded plot. Why Would I Lie stars Treat Williams as a compulsive liar, and also, I might add, as a totally irresponsible and obnoxious buffoon. He plays a social worker who unofficially adopts a little boy. Sure he would. He lies about everything. And that helmet, by the way, is his security helmet. But don't get me started on that. Anyway, Treat Williams searches for the real mother of this little boy, and along the way, he meets Lisa Eichhorn, who plays a counselor at a women's center where the mother used to live. Tries to impress Eichhorn by his usual method, lying through his teeth. But will Treat Williams ever figure out who Lisa Eichhorn really is? I sure did. You see, the mother of the little boy was named Kalinsky, and Eichhorn calls herself Kay Lindsay. Get it? Sure you do. She's the kid's mother. The audience knows that for 75 minutes. Everybody knows it, but it takes the people in the movie until the last scene to figure it out. You know what this movie has? An idiot plot. If everyone in this movie weren't a total idiot, they'd figure out the movie's mysteries instantly, and it'd be over in 10 minutes.
Oh, you got me there. This is a film that gets you angry. You want to yell up and say, stop it. If any moment in this film They begin to ask questions, the kind of questions that anyone in the audience would ask. If they were in that situation, the movie would be over right away, as you mentioned. It's a very bad film. I hate it.
Instantly. For example, another example, a play on names. This mother, when she lost her child, she named him George with a J. So if she ever found him again, she could say, George with a J, that's my kid. So what does Treat, whatever his name is, do? He says, I'm going to call you Hank. So then she's calling the kid Hank. She never says to the kid, is Hank your real name? She never says to Treat Williams, where did you get this kid? Did he come to the apartment? Did you find him in the dishwasher? At any moment, they could solve this entire movie.
His attitude, the Treat Williams character, is also very smug. That's what really grates against me. He's got this pompous attitude that lying is better than telling the truth. And he goes throughout the entire picture proselytizing this attitude, and it's very aggravating. Someone ought to punch him out. That's the kind of reaction. I mean, we're both kind of violent right now. That's the kind of reaction that this picture generates.
This movie is not simply a bad movie. This movie is an insult to the intelligence of everyone in the audience. I hated it.
All right, well, let's step up way in class. Way in class.
Great.
Our next film is commercial Hollywood filmmaking at its most enjoyable. It's Private Benjamin, with Goldie Hawn playing Judy Benjamin, a pampered young woman whose whole reason for living is to get married. When her second husband dies in a hilarious scene on their wedding night at the beginning of the picture, a distraught Judy Benjamin is persuaded to pay a visit to an Army recruiter. She also tells, when she gets her fatigues in the picture, she says, do you have them in any other color? There's a serious side to this film, or at least a gentle message is intended. Judy Benjamin comes alive as her own woman when she's in the Army. She enjoys feeling self-reliant and independent. But the old Judy Benjamin, the one who was raised to live for her husband rather than for herself, that old Judy Benjamin returns when she meets a wealthy and attractive young Frenchman played by Armand Assante. Private Benjamin drags a bit at the end when the film lays on its message that women should try to stand on their own 2 feet. But despite that, Private Benjamin is mostly a delight, with Goldie Hawn displaying a marvelous comic flair and a script full of bright writing and good cheer. Private Benjamin is the entertaining kind of movie that Hollywood makes so well.
You know, Gene, I'm really in agreement with you on this. When you think of all the bad comedies you've had to look at recently, like In God We Trust and Holy Moses and Oh God Book 2, and even Woody Allen's picture, Stardust Memories, wasn't too great. It's really hard to make a good comedy, and I think this is a good one. I kind of agree with you that it's too bad at the end they get serious and they have a message and a moral and a little bit of lesson to be learned. I think basically in a comedy, the only message is laughter from the audience. If you hear that, that's enough.
And that's provided by Goldie Hawn, I think, most of all. The writing is very good, but she displays just a marvelous light comedy flair. There's a basic training scene where she goes through all the things, jumping over ponds and dodging bullets and all that kind of thing, fighting. Marvelous comic acting.
I really do enjoy her in this. I liked her in Foul Play, too. I think a lot of actors feel it's funny if they fall off of something, they run into something, a writer gives them a funny line to say. She realizes that you have to make a funny character. She creates Private Benjamin, Judy Benjamin, as a complete little person there and puts her in this situation. She's funny because of who she is, not because of the script, even though it's a good script. So it's a good movie. We're in agreement.
Yep.
I hate to change the subject, especially since our next movie is an exercise in gruesome stupidity. Now, you might ask, what is gruesome stupidity? That's when everybody in the movie is stupid and they're also either dead or covered in blood. This next movie is a horrible example of that. It's called Terror Train, and it's about a group of fraternity and sorority kids who charter a private train so they can throw a masquerade party. For entertainment, they've hired a magician played by professional magician David Copperfield. Oh, I don't know about you, but it looks to me like a mysterious killer is loose on that train. Before long, the party turns into a bloodbath. Terror Train is the fourth bloody horror movie in 2 years starring Jamie Lee Curtis, who started out great as the babysitter in Halloween and has been going downhill ever since, first in The Fog and then in the terrible movie Prom Night. In this scene, Jamie Lee Curtis is one of the kids herded outside the train by the conductor, played by Ben Johnson. Don't worry, it's only the conductor. Terror Train gives us lots of people getting their throats slit while the survivors scream and run up and down the train. One reason the killing go on so long is that everybody behaves so stupidly. This is another idiot plot, just like Why Would I Lie? Nobody seems to tell anybody else what's going on. A simple warning would be enough. Potential victims are forever racing into the wrong railroad car and locking the doors behind them. The producer of Terror Train says he hopes it'll turn a profit before there's a glut in the horror film market. This movie is a glut in the horror film market.
I think it's a horrible film, too. Very bloody, and, we're told who the killer is in an opening scene right away, so the whole movie reduces to when are they going to lift off the mask and find out who really is that's doing the killing. Very bloody because these are supposedly college medical students. So they have access to cadavers. So you get lots of hands being lopped off and parts of bodies being thrown around and buckets of blood. I'm very disappointed that a major studio, 20th Century Fox, would take on this independently made movie and distribute it.
I am too. It's a real loser. You know, there's one side issue I'd kind of like to bring up. In this movie, David Copperfield basically plays himself, and David Copperfield is a Broadway magician. He's toured the country. Allegedly in the film, he does his own magic. Those are real magic tricks. And my point is, who cares? In a movie, even if it's real, it just looks like a movie. It could be special effects. So the magic is wasted.
That also applies to television. Magic you have to see in person. It doesn't work in this movie. It doesn't work in Terror Train.
Hold on, Gene. Here come some more movies that don't work. And here's Spot the Wonder Dog leaping into the balcony, ready to sniff out the dogs of the week, the week's worst movies.
Well, my dog this week is a shoddy thriller called Nightmare. A bunch of California college kids off to Mexico on a lark bump into some high-powered drug dealers led by Ray Milland and Peter Graves. The drug dealers' henchmen are portrayed in racist images as slobbering, greasy Mexican, and in short order, they shoot one of the college boys and rape his girlfriend. The rape is reenacted in slow-motion replay. This is a cruel little thriller that moves at a snail's pace. I knew I was in trouble when the kids in the film sang an entire song around a campfire, and then one of the Mexicans sings another entire song and repeats the chorus 3 times. That's known as padding. The movie. Awful.
My dog this week is called Bloody Friday, and it's a very badly dubbed imported film from West Germany about a gang that holds up a bank and takes the customers hostage. Judging by the cars in this film, I'd say Bloody Friday is about 10 years old, and it certainly hasn't aged well. Bloody Friday is a rehash of tired old bank robbery cliches, the screaming hostages, the frantic gang leader, the competent cops. Also, badly dubbed, they sound as if they're phoning in their dialogue from the bottom of a well. I found Bloody Friday way down at the bottom third of a triple bill of El Cheapo Sleazo exploitation garbage. And the point I'd like to make is, anytime you can see 3 movies on the same bill in the same movie theater, especially at a so-called bargain price, the odds are almost overwhelming that none of the 3 movies are going to be worth seeing.
Well, so much for the dogs. Let's recap our reactions to the main movies on this show. And Roger, for the second week in a row, we have agreed on all of the films. We both like John Cassavetes' Boy in a Gun Mall story, Gloria. It's a minor film, but Jenna Roland's performance makes it work. Our yes votes next to our names means yes, we recommend you see Gloria. 2 strong no votes to Why Would I Lie, a smug, insipid drama about a jerk who can't help but tell lies. However, 2 strong yeses for the Goldie Hawn Army comedy, Private Benjamin, a thoroughly delightful film. But 2 no votes for Terror Train, an extremely bloody and predictable thriller.
So I guess the thing we agree on most strongly is that Private Benjamin is a good movie and a good comedy after this long drought in the late summer and early autumn of lots of bad comedies.
The other thing that you mentioned, which I thought was interesting, is you identified a disease that some movies have, the idiot plot. Why don't you go through that again?
Oh, the idiot plot is very simple, Gene. Everybody in the movie is an idiot. Nobody in the movie does the obvious thing that everybody in the audience would be smart enough to do, and if they did, the movie would be over.
So they insult our intelligence. That's the thing that's frustrating about those pictures.
Very frustrating. Right, that's it for this week. Next week on Sneak Previews, Gene and I are going to devote an entire program to a disturbing new trend at the American box office. We'll be taking a look at the sudden epidemic of new movies about women in danger, movies portraying attractive, independent women as targets of brutal violence. That's next week. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.